Some of you may remember that about 2 years ago, I interviewed a secular atheist in Iraq by the name of Lubna Ahmed. Lubna reached out to us and asked to come on the Rubin Report to share her personal story of being a free thinker living in an unstable, closed society. Before our formal interview, I Skyped with Lubna privately to check out her story, and then went to my friend, former guest, and Iraqi refugee himself, Faisal Saeed al-Muhtar, to ask him if he felt that putting Lubna on the show was a good idea. My fear, obviously, was that we could end up putting Lubna's life at risk. Of course, I didn't want to bring harm to her or anyone that she knew for simply speaking her truth as a non-believer in an Islamic society. Faisal, who himself had lived under Saddam and lost loved ones under his brutal regime, told me that if I wouldn't talk to Lubna publicly, that nobody would. He told me that voices like hers are the exact type of people who suffer most under theocratic regimes, reasoning that if as an adult she was willing to take the risk of putting her name and face out there, I should offer her the opportunity. I really struggled with the decision for a couple weeks and ultimately took Faisal's advice and interviewed Lubna. What you're going to see today is the original interview we did with Lubna exactly as it aired 2 years ago. Shortly after the interview was released, Lubna and her family were subjected to death threats from Shia militias, had to go into hiding, and were forced to take various other precautions in order to protect their safety. At Lubna's request, we immediately took down the video and we didn't comment publicly any further as not to inflame the situation. Over the past 2 years, though, several people who were viewers of the Rubin Report were able to contact Lubna privately and helped her to receive assistance and guidance in the midst of this horrific ordeal. I also contacted several former guests of the Rubin Report who I hoped could use some of their connections to help Lubna, and many people did just that. Lubna was moved to a safe house. At one point, some connections tried to get her to the Kurdish-controlled portion of Iraq, and others donated time and money. I give them all a shout out here, but I'm not sure that any of them even want public accolades for their efforts. I am beyond thrilled today to tell you that over the past few months, Lubna has actually made it to the United States and now lives only a few hours away from me. We are reposting this long-lost video so that you can see our original chat as a prelude to Lubna joining me right here in studio, which we will post next Monday. Hopefully, Lubna's journey will be an inspiration not only to all of the people across the world who live in closed societies so that they can realize that they aren't alone, but also for all the people who live in open societies but have forgotten just how truly special that is. All right, I'm really excited about what we're doing today. I am here with Lubna Ahmed. She is a human rights activist in Iraq, and we connected a couple weeks ago, first on Twitter and Facebook, and now we've exchanged a couple emails. Lubna, it's a pleasure to actually see you.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to meet you. I'm very excited about the interview, and I really want to make something, in my life and get my voice to reach other people who lives in closed societies like Iraq and, Pakistan, Afghanistan, everywhere. So I hope, I do good. So thank you so much for having me.
Well,
yes.
The thanks is all coming from this side, but all right, so there's so much I want to talk to you about. First off, I guess, most importantly, so you're in Iraq right now. You're 25 years old, is that right?
No, 23.
23, sorry, I didn't mean to age you there.
No.
So you're 23 years old, you're in Iraq, so you grew up under Saddam Hussein and the Ba'ath Party.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your history first, from what you can remember. I know it was a long time ago already. But what was it like growing up in that situation? And then we'll get to where we are now.
Well, it was, like I said, was difficult living, under Saddam Hussein time. And, my mother, she was forced to join his party, but she refused to join in. And thus, he, his people transferred her to another company and, lowered her salary. And that went so bad, to me and my siblings as well. So it was really hard seeing a lot of things going on. A lot of rights were taken from the people, and the women were suffered a lot during that time. And, I saw a lot of backward things going on, and especially, for the women wearing headscarf a lot. and calling for rights were forbidden at that time. So it was dark,
Yeah.
as you know. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more, just a little bit about your family, like what kind of family you grew up in, and sort of when you became, a secular thinker and someone interested in human rights and women's rights and all that?
Well, my family, from the beginning, my mother, she was an atheist. So the reason I'm thinking like that, because of her, she raised me and my siblings along to be free. She didn't force us to think anything about, religions or so. She's a mechanical engineer scientist. And like, I mentioned in my story, she married to my father, which he was turned to be just like her brother and her mother. He abused my mom. He used to hit my mom, and he used to hit my sister, my older sister, as well. So from that point, my mom tried to divorce him, and finally she got the divorce. And another turn in my life, in my family's life, which began at that time. We were hated by my mother's family first, and the society. We were under so many attacks because my mom, she is a woman and she is divorced. And in Middle East, being a woman and being divorced without a man to identify the woman, they will attack these kind of women. So, well, for me, I started to think about Islam and Quran since 12 years old. I started to ask, what is Islam? Who's Muhammad? What is God? And that's why I kicked out of like 2 to 3 schools. I was forced to attend the religion lessons in my school just to get my degrees or so, and that's what I did. But in the same time, I did search Quran and Islam, and I do think that I want to say this: Islam is an extreme religion. There's no need to have a Wahhabism, a principle or so. It's just itself. It's extreme. When you read Quran, when you read Hadith, you will see how how there is so much violence in it. Yes, there are a few nice verses, but when you come to the whole text in Quran, no, it's not peaceful. And I do think that Muhammad created all this, religion and so on. So get back to my point, I continued my education, and now I'm doing my master's in chemical engineering, and my field is reactor design, which is, a very fascinating field, and I love it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's so much there. So you grew up, so your mom was an atheist, so I assume in your house there wasn't much religion, certainly once your dad left the
Yeah.
house. But then you're saying you had to take religious classes just so that you could take the other classes that you wanted to take, right? The
Exactly.
science and
Yeah.
math
Yeah.
and things like
Yeah.
that. What was it like for your mom? So she's obviously a generation ahead of you. She was, to be a secular thinker and an atheist. I mean, was she open in terms of friends and family? It sounds like
Yeah.
maybe family, yeah?
Yeah, she was open, and that's why her brother abused her. And once she told us, one of the times he used to hit her. He used to abuse my mother. He and her mother. Her father was kind of a good guy. He pushed for my mom to continue her education, but her brother, one of the times, he almost tried to kill my mom with a knife. She mentioned that. And she was open. She escaped from the house to live in dorms, actually, when she was a mechanical engineer student. And it was really hard. She faced a lot of difficulties having friends, and Well, and she ended with my father. And like I said, he turned out to be nothing, nothing at
Yeah.
all.
So let's flash forward a little bit. So then, I guess it's about 10 years ago now, a little bit more probably. There was the American invasion of Iraq. So what was that like for you, for your family? Were you in the middle of the war zone?
Well, at the beginning, we were very happy because Saddam Hussein was a dictator, and as a lot of people knew about Saddam Hussein and what he did to the Iraqi people. We were very happy at the beginning, to be honest, but then it turned out it's not the same. I mean, we lost a lot of, I think, rights back in Saddam Hussein time. As women, they used to walk down the street in the middle of the night, safe. But now, after the invasion, no, we didn't see that. A lot of rights were lost. A lot of things are going on, and especially right now. And it's after the invasion, a lot of Shia militia took over the country. So it was really bad, and it is really bad because there is no central government in Iraq no more. And I suppose that the Iraqi government is ruled by Iran. I do really think that. So for me and my family, facing all these things, it was really difficult. And we got a lot of threats. But as you see, I am still alive, so as my family. And well, I wish to continue. So
Yeah,
that's the
well,
point.
that's
Yeah.
why we're doing this, and I think you're incredibly inspiring. And I had said to you
Thank you.
before we started, I had said to you, I don't want to do anything that would jeopardize your safety. And basically, I don't have to say it for you, but you could say what you said to me about that.
Yeah, well, it's okay, I think, because I do believe in myself to the ultimate point that, I give it all because it's time to talk. Terrorists have the right to exist in Iraq. A religious man that pretending, Islam have the right. Everyone, has the right, except the people who don't believe in God or who don't believe in religions. And actually, religions, I kind of, define religion as anything that limit the human being's brain from thinking freely, from being creative, because religions, do put these limits for us to be who we are. So, I refuse all these things, and I will not submit to anything at all. And this is the reason I'm doing this, and this is the reason I want my voice to reach out others to start to stand up because we are lost. It's time for us to be found, and I do wish people listen to me. Yes.
Yeah, well, listen, I know we're literally something like 8,000 or 10,000 miles apart, but I can feel it. I can actually feel that connection through this Skype thing. So it's really incredible. So I want to hear a little bit more about your story, though. So there, you were hopeful when the invasion happened. Then the invasion happened, and America was there for a while, and it seemed like things were getting better, right? There were elections. There was
Yeah.
a sense
Yeah.
that things were getting better. So can you talk about what that little period was like? And then when America left, did it immediately get worse where it is now, or was it kind of a slow progression to that?
Well, Well, like you said, like you mentioned, yes, it was good to have the elections and was good to have some rights, especially for the women. They were more active in the public life and as well for the children, and a lot of things were very, very good at the beginning. And but with time, a lot of things, eliminated for the women, for the children, and for the society. Yes, we do have now internet and connections to the other world, which Saddam Hussein, in his time, were prevented. We were prevented doing these things, but Like I said, a lot of things, turned out to be bad. Now militias, Shia militias are taking over the government. جيش المهدي, رسائل السلام, حزب نصرة Allah, they started to establish their institutions, and they do have now buildings, institutions under the eye, under the protection of the Iraqi government. So what I'm saying is, the militias, started to take a lot of areas in Baghdad. They killed a lot of people, and as you know, from the beginning, Sunni Arab began to suffer from the elimination in the government. They don't have the right to exist in Iraq like Christians, and Christian people left Iraq, after the invasion. A lot of them left the country, which is very bad. A lot of churches in Baghdad, I have seen this in my own eyes. The Iraqis, Muslims, turn these churches into trade like malls and stuff like that. And I did, take pictures of such these things. But after the U.S. forces left Iraq, well, it turned out to be more worse than this.
Yeah.
Now Iran took over a lot of cities. I do think, and I'm sure, I have people talking to me in south of Iraq. They can see members of the Iranian militias or, Al-Quds army, exist. And turned out, like I said, to be more worse. Now, even the Iraqi constitution, they put a new law for the women to eliminate, their rights, and it was bad. And even the United Nations, they mentioned that, but no one, in Iraq, no one listens to what is going on. So, I think, you got my point. Now it's more worse than ever.
Yeah. So
Yes.
what's it like actually for you as a woman, just on a day-to-day basis? Obviously, you're not wearing a head covering right now. I assume you're at home. You don't have to tell me where you
Yeah.
are. But what is your life? Going to school, work, wherever it is that you go, from morning to night. What's your day like?
Okay, well, like I said, I'm a student, so when I go out without a headscarf and short hair, and and the way I look, they pay attention to me, and a lot of attacks, abuses I have faced, from high school till this day. I was physically, harassed, and it was a difficult time, but now even their children, now they teach their children to criticize me. Anyway, I go on the street with how I look, and I get a lot, like I said, of abuses. But for me, I fight back. I reply. I do not shut my mouth, and because there is no reason for anyone to criticize anyone. There is no right for anyone to have the right to oblige others to follow their way. You know what I mean? Each one of us is free to do whatever they want. So for me, I do whatever I want. I don't care, because I'm not affecting anyone with I'm doing. So that's for me. Yeah.
So I'm curious how other women react to you, because obviously they're not all as brave as you are and are going out and talking about the things you're talking about and publicly saying the things that you're saying, and even just going out without the head
Well,
covering. Are they talking to you privately?
Yeah. Well, to answer that, the women are the first one who attacks me, to be honest.
Really?
I do have a lot of males, they were, agreeing to my points, but the women, they were attacks me all the time, and I really don't care about them, and I try to explain how I think, and I try to reach to them, but actually they do not believe in themselves. And actually, I joined some of the women local organizations calling for the women rights in Iraq, and I got shocked seeing the women, under the rule of this local organization herself is wearing hijab, headscarf, and it's for me. I don't want to look like aggressive in my opinions, but once you put this piece of cloth, you are a slave. For me, I do consider these women are slaves because it's a human, nature to, for women to have their hair to look like the men, and it's from the beginning of the humanity. It's like that, and it was mentioned. I want to mention this in Quran and Hadith. The headscarf was mentioned only for the women of the Prophet Muhammad, not all the Muslim women. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And in history, when you follow up in Quran and Hadith in history, men were wearing headscarf as well, because the nature of the desert, and storms, they were used to wear this piece of cloth to protect them from the sun, from the dust. So for me, I face a lot of women attacking me, but like I said, I'm standing for myself, and that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I know that we also we have many things I think in common in a lot of the people that we both admire, and I know that you're a big admirer of Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris, all of these free thinkers and secular people. I'm curious how you got interested in them. Was this just from being online? Were you able to get their books, or how did that happen?
Well, it's through my mother, because she used to, follow them, buying their books, because she has a friend, of her. He used to bring books like that, in secret, because it's banned in Iraq, to have these books in English.
Sure.
It's translated to Arabic, which, I do not trust the translation, to be honest. So, yeah. So I knew these people from my mother, and we used to read, books. For example, God Delusion for Richard Dawkins, which, I'm very fascinated. It was a very fascinating book. We used to read it with my mother, discuss things. We are just like a gang, me and my siblings and my mother. Yeah, we're talking about these things. So, well, and I got interested in Hitchens and, Sam Harris, online Sam Harris, but Hitchens and Dawkins through my mother, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first off, for the record, I want you to know that I'm going to make sure to send this video to Sam, so he will know who you are. And I'll do my best to get it to Dawkins as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you're a representation of everything that they care about, everything that's right, that we have to empower people like you to change your society.
Thank you. Yeah.
So we only have a couple of minutes left, but so what can we do on the outside? Because one of the things that I hear a lot of from people on the left in my country is that we just have to let you guys be. It's none of our business to get involved. And I feel the reverse. I feel it's important to talk to people like you, because you're a minority within a minority, and I want to help your voice spread. So for all the people watching this, what can we do to help you and get these ideas out there?
Well, the thing that you can help is reading about Islam, because Islam is the only religion now acting. So I think it's so violence in the West, in our countries. A lot of people got killed because of this religion, and a lot of women got killed. And there were a lot of statistics in the Middle East mentioned that. So for me, I think you have to first learn about this religion and start to to support people like me, to listen to us, and to have your ways to reach out others, help them. This is what I do think, and it's really important for me defeating Islam. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is what I do really believe.
yeah, and by the way, I should mention that when we've briefly talked before this, I asked you, if you were interested in trying to leave Iraq, and you can repeat what you said.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what will happen after this. I'm okay. If anything will happen to me, I'm gonna be happy because now my voice will be lit. Well, I'm thinking, yeah.
All right. Well, it's a thrill and really an honor to talk to you. And you have an ally in me, and you're going to have an ally in literally thousands of other people that'll hear you after this. And just keep putting your message out there, and we're going to keep amplifying it. And I hope this is just the beginning of something great for you.
Well, thank you very much. And it's just I'm not a talkative person, but I just want to, thank the people who will listen to me, and I appreciate, that they just give it all time to see, things and what's going on in Middle East. The media is not free. Nothing is for you to be on. So I think you have to just put it, give it a little bit of your time and effort to see things, to see the reality. And I hope you understand that. And thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not that talkative.
No sorries. Thank you, Lubna. And of course, we're gonna stay in touch, and I'm gonna get this to Sam.